I meant to do that. And I had one too. All right, there you go. Oh, I didn't even change that. Damn. I had all that information in there when I was about to begin, and turns out it didn't save it. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Good evening to you guys. I've been getting on these later in the evening live streams. Did one on Friday. We're here again on Sunday. A lot of things have developed in the last 48 hours since we did the live stream on Friday evening. It's been 48 hours, right? Close to that. Yeah, man, shout out to you guys. Hope you had a great weekend. What a diabolical time it most certainly is. A lot of things in the news right now. I'm seeing something coming out of Midwest involving some firefighters taking sniper fire. Jeff Bezos just got married, a $50 million wedding. Heard Tom Brady was there, chatting it up with Sydney Sweeney. Crazy. Hey, Landmark, shout out to you for the dono right there. Yeah, man, we got some good stuff to share this evening. And hopefully we're going to make this a good one. I'm still trying to recover from surgery. I'm mostly healed from that, but my God, if you guys know from seeing what I do over on Joe Does Stuff, you know that my recovery has not been a good one. And out of everything that I've dealt with, bronchitis, some sort of a bacterial infection that I thought was something else, now all of a sudden I feel like I'm getting a cold. Like, cannot win for losing. A Slander Bob, shout out to P-Town. Yeah, we just had a body found in a lake today. I mean, you know, I'm not laughing about that, but I'm a part of a local Facebook group for my city, and people were posting videos of the police actually pulling this body out of the water on Facebook. I thought that was freaking nuts. All right, hey, let's go ahead and get up into this thing. Shout out to everybody taking the time to rock with me on this Sunday evening. So here's the crazy thing. Filmed a whole bunch of videos. Filmed a video about exactly what I'm getting ready to share with you here live. But given how Friday's live stream went, and granted, we had like 800 and something people in that live stream. That was a pretty popular live stream. Aside from that, I was able to get a ton of content out of that. And sometimes it's better me doing the live streams versus filming video. It just works out better that way for whatever reason. But I'm not going to waste a whole lot of time. Let's go ahead and get up into this. Ooh, getting a message right now, as a matter of fact. Landmark says Joe got a vasectomy. I got a colonoscopy upcoming, too. I'm going to vlog that. Get ready with me as we... Lord. Getting old is absolutely no fun at all. Yeah, Cree, I was just saying that, man. I saw that. The firefighters got ambushed and shot in Idaho. I'm going to be keeping up with that to see what the hell is going on in relation to that. I'm not prepared for that here this evening. What I am prepared for is the latest information in relation to Antoine Massie, who was just taken into custody Friday afternoon. I would hear about this 5 p.m. Friday evening doing a live stream on my other YouTube channel, Joe Does Stuff. That's when the story first broke. And then Friday night, this same time, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I would do another live stream over here, and we would dissect all of the information that was known at the time, including such details as where Antoine Massie was captured at 2 miles away from the very jail that he escaped from 6 weeks prior. I was discouraged, a little disappointed to hear that, thinking throughout all that I had shared in relation to this escape saga that this guy had to have gotten up out of Dodge. But ultimately, he had not. I wonder if Derek Groves has. Clearly, at this point, he seems to be the smarter of the two, given the fact that he hasn't been seen since the morning of May the 16th, when the escape first occurred. Where is Derek Groves? Has anybody seen him? Obviously not. There is no information coming out in relation to him. Except, however, this one thing that I would learn since Friday. And that is, when the phone calls and the tips were coming in that would ultimately lead to the apprehension of Antoine Massie on Friday afternoon, some of those phone calls were also in relation to Derek Groves. Could this guy, would this guy, there's no way this guy is still in New Orleans, right? I mean, because if he is, he's got to be in the sewer system somewhere. A guy who is being referred to as the smartest of the bunch, the last man standing. People saying that their parlays, their DraftKings picks have hit. I knew it was going to be Derek Groves. There's no way this guy is still in New Orleans. Only time will tell. Oh, shout out to you, man. I'll get back to that. I appreciate that. Are you still considering moving down south? Yes. And ironically enough, Louisiana at that. Beautiful state. In between where I need to be at, Mississippi and Florida. It would work out pretty well for me. But like I said, there have been some new details that have emerged since Friday, 48 hours since Antoine Massie was taken into custody. What do we know? Well, without knowing, let me start with this. That sounds crazy. Antoine Massie is probably sitting his ass at Angola right now with the 8 other previous escapees who got away, only to be caught. 3 of which were caught on the very day that the escape took place. I wonder if they've got a welcome package for him. Sometimes you do that when you know your buddy's coming to where you're at. You put together a little home welcoming gift basket, so to speak. Some essentials, bars of soap, a stick of deodorant. Damn, man. Hey, you lasted longer than all of us did. Here's an Irish Spring for you. Yeah, so there is a good likelihood that Antoine Massie is at Angola right now, but maybe not. Maybe he's still going through an interview and interrogation process. Maybe they'll need him to stick around, given the fact that the jail maintenance worker who cut off the water, Sterling Williams, implicated Antoine Massie as the mastermind and also who threatened to shank him if he didn't cut off the water. Pretty sure they don't need him at that court case. But we can rest assured that Antoine Massie has probably been in front of a magistrate at this point, taken back down to booking B&B. You're not going home. You're going back to booking for additional charges. Escape, destruction of state property, threatening a civil servant, a government employee. I don't know what you consider a jail worker. Oh boy, he probably got a handful of felonies to add on to what he was already serving time for. Charges he hadn't even been convicted of yet. At least in Derek Groves' case, he went through 3 or 4 different trials. Has 4 bodies, 2 murder charges, 2 manslaughter charges. I mean, at least in Derek Groves' case, he had a real reason to run. He already was convicted. The risk certainly was worth it. What did he have to look forward to aside from a couple of life sentences? Given the fact that in Antoine Massie's case especially, the woman who pressed the charges on him was arrested and implicated for aiding and abetting, it's pretty safe to say that those charges were probably bogus. Probably some toxicity going on between the two of them. Maybe he did some of that. But I mention that because he probably could have beaten the charges that he was locked up for. You might actually be looking at now more time than you were looking at initially. And that's crazy to think about. But those are just hypotheticals and theories. There have been developments, actual concrete developments, since his arrest. And one of the biggest is where, in fact, he was caught at. Not just in Holly Grove, Lil Wayne's stomping grounds, not just on Strollett Street, but at an Airbnb, a duplex home. This is kind of a big deal because this has to mean other arrests are forthcoming or on the way. You don't just end up in an Airbnb as a fugitive by your lonesome. Now, there is speculation that potentially he broke into this place. But if he didn't, either somebody let him in or somebody rented this for him. Prior to doing this, I had to do a bunch of thinking in relation to Airbnb because I've never used Airbnb. I've used VBR, whatever, VBR Go or whatever it's called. It's something similar to Airbnb. And anytime that you're going to rent something like that, a home, you can't just do it with a prepaid credit card. You have to have an ID. Like they need a front and back of your ID. So somebody's government is on the hook. Just in case shit gets upside down, you throw a lavish party, a lot of shit gets broken. You know, Airbnb was cracking down on that. I don't know if they mention in their fine print anything about harboring a fugitive. But there's an interesting thing, and I hate to go down this conspiracy rabbit hole, but I'm going to because I play devil's advocate, and oftentimes I will play the asshole. I don't mind that. The news, the media was all over this Airbnb home on Friday. We're going to look at that news clip. There's only one news video that I've seen thus far from the actual residence where this guy was apprehended at. And in that particular video, the homeowner who owns that Airbnb was there. The news people didn't even know the homeowner was there. And they're standing in front of this place, which is very interesting. If you were going to be a fugitive and you were going to think that an Airbnb is a good idea for whatever reason, this was actually the perfect Airbnb to get. I mean, I guess if you were going to break out of a jail and stay in the same city less than 2 miles away from that jail where you broke out of, knowing that there's a nationwide fugitive manhunt looking for you, this was, I guess, the best choice that was available because this thing had some pretty large privacy fences that encompassed the entire property, including the front driveway. Now, I don't know necessarily that this is a privacy fence or maybe more of a security measure, given the fact that we are in Baghdad, New Orleans, a.k.a. Holly Grove, Strollett Street. I know nothing of the area except for what Lil Wayne has shared with us over the years through many a mixtape. I'm from Holly Grove. Yo, I know New Orleans is a very violent, crime-ridden place. I mean, the city that I live in is as well, so it's not like it's anything all that extraordinary. Maybe this privacy fence was more of a security measure. But I want to go ahead and hopefully be able to look at this video with you guys. I haven't even thought about how I was going to do that here. What am I on? I could do it like that. I guess I could do it like that. What do I have to make this the best way? I guess I'll do it like this. This will work out the best. Bing bong. That is diabolical. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and look at this video of this Airbnb. And it's very interesting. The homeowner literally kind of like scares the reporter. Buddy doesn't even know that the homeowner, is there. She scares this reporter kind of. And then, like, he's just stuttering and stammering all over his words, really trying to get this lady to talk to him, and she don't want no parts of it. But she does say one very interesting thing. Let's check this out. Let me actually pull it up because I don't have it pulled up just yet. Steve, do you have that ready to go? You do. Good. Steve, you're on point with everything. All right, boom, we got it right here. Let's go ahead and enlarge this. And then before we do so, make sure everything is working. Audio is on. Boom. And good job, Steve. Appreciate you having your ducks in a row ready for this. There we go. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at this together. Y'all let me know, make sure the audio is working correctly on this. So what we're getting ready to look at is the only video that I have seen, news story coming out from the location where Antoine Massie was apprehended at. And folks, there's a very key thing that you're going to hear this homeowner say. See if you can pick up on what we're getting ready to hear here. Shout out to everybody taking the time to rock with me on this Sunday evening. You won't get any more details, or I try to give you guys the very most in relation to this particular escape than anybody else has. So thank you guys for taking the time to rock with me on this. Steve, go ahead and roll that. Roll it. Got a freaking mess over here. Steve, I'm going to need you to clean this place up a little bit better after we get done with this.
Parish jail escapees are in custody. Accused domestic abuser Antoine Massie is in custody this afternoon. That's our breaking news.
Andres Fuentes is live in Holly Grove, where marshals say they found him. Andres.
Why is that so low? I hope that's louder for y'all.
Lauren, Liz, we got here to the scene around 15 seconds.
Y'all let me know what that audio is hitting
or
on.
so. We're here on Livingston and Strolitz here in Holly Grove. When we pulled up, we saw several U.S. Marshals surrounding this.
All right. Obviously, here's the reporter. Here is that Airbnb. Look at the windows are boarded up in this place. Now, this is a duplex. The front unit right there behind him, behind that really nice hairdo he's got right there, is the second unit. But look at that privacy fence, that 6-foot freaking privacy fence. If you were a fugitive, there's no better place to be than right here, I guess, if you're going to stay 2 miles away from the jail you escaped.
Step out of the way,
there it is.
Look at that home real quick. Now, this home, it's a duplex, right? And speaking to some neighbors,
got some graffiti on the side of it.
He was taking out of the door all the way toward the back, the second unit to this property, maybe around 3:30 this afternoon. A lot of people were at work, but still, we were running into some neighbors who say that they were surprised to see all of the law enforcement present that was here at the scene. We do know from a source that this arrest came from a Crime Stoppers tip that eventually, again, led to Antoine Massie being taken away by U.S. Marshals. A bit about Antoine Massie. He was the 9th inmate arrested after the escape nearly 6 weeks ago, involving 10 inmates from the Orleans Parish Jail. He was originally locked up for charges of motor vehicle theft and domestic abuse battery involving strangulation back to a fight with his girlfriend back in 2024. We are still waiting on more details as to exactly how the tip came about from Crime Stoppers, the amount of information, how exactly Antoine Massie was here at this duplex. It's not too far from the Orleans Parish Jail, not too far, just a few blocks away from Airline Highway. So still relatively close, but we do know just from the continuing reporting on Antoine Massie's case that investigators believe that he did a series of Instagram social media videos from a home in the 7th ward.
The homeowner is about to pop up any minute with this guy.
The case is not only the
just
charges
talking a mile a minute
Parish,
here.
Some charges over in St. Tammany Parish, but again, we did speak with the U.S. Marshals, and they gave us a soundbite on the latest on this investigation as it's all unfolding. Take a look.
Let me check that audio real quick too. Steve, you're absolutely fired after this. I'm gonna need you to go try to find another job, buddy. I'm kidding. There is nobody named Steve. Steve is literally me. I just be acting like I got some help here. Kind of fancy myself as like a male version of Nancy Grace. Joe McBride, shout out to you, brother. Keep your head up. You've been rocking with me for a long time, man. I'm sorry to hear that you're dealing with a tough time.
Crime Stoppers GNO provided critical support on this case, as they do on many of the cases that we work. And this one definitely led to his capture.
Okay. I forgot that this is 12 minutes long. This is actually a live stream news.
Again, a woman just came on by, shuttered this property.
All right, here she goes. News report. So now we can see that the property is closed. The homeowner has come and closed the property. Look at that fence. You can't see anything in there. But before we get to that, let me go back to right here where they're zooming in on all of this shit going on in the front of this first
was
unit.
Taking out of the door all the way toward the back. The second
See, they're zooming in on that little basketball hoop right there,
maybe around
and those little
3:30
toddler
this
toys.
afternoon. A lot of people were at work, but
Go ahead and
still,
lower
we
the
were
camera
running
for me
into
one
some
time,
neighbors who say
Steve.
that they were surprised to see all of the law enforcement present that was here at the scene.
Okay, well, they're not going to lower the camera, but clearly you can see that there's like some toddler toys right there. Now, clearly, somebody lives in this front unit. I mean, because this is an Airbnb, as it's been reported, where Antoine Massie was taken into custody on Friday afternoon at. But why we got these kids' toys in front of this unit with this little folding metal chair right there? Somebody must, I would imagine, live in that front unit. Was Antoine Massie hiding out in the back unit? You got to pick up on these small details right here. What hasn't happened since this guy's arrest is somebody else getting arrested. Another person being charged with aiding and abetting and harboring a fugitive. You don't just get this Airbnb as a wanted man. Somebody's got to put their ID card and credit card on this. Who has done that? And why have they not been implicated yet? And will they be? Now, they do make slight speculation that potentially Antoine Massie broke into this Airbnb and nobody knew that he was there. I don't necessarily believe that. Let's go ahead and get to where
it's not
the homeowner.
And this one definitely led to his.
And around 5:30 this afternoon, the ninth inmate.
Here we go.
That was
homeowner's about to pop up right here.
Excuse me, guys. Are you the property owner?
I'm the property owner.
Okay,
Yes,
any,
I
And
am.
there she goes. Look at that. She got a shirt that says
I don't
justice
know.
on.
living on your property, man.
Nope, it's an Airbnb.
It's an Airbnb. Any comment as to how Antoine Massie had access to your property, ma'am? She just said that Antoine Massie ran into her property, she guesses.
And now he's about to start stammering all over the place. Okay, real quick, we got to jump in here. Look, you know the police are dissecting this particular video right here. Homeowner pops up with a shirt that says justice on. We're talking about, nope, it's an Airbnb. Is it even a legit Airbnb? I mean, think about this. Who's renting an Airbnb in Baghdad? Isn't that what New Orleans is after all? Little Iraq? Like straight war zone type shit? Maybe she just said Airbnb, but really maybe it's some sort of a short-term rental. Maybe it's a rooming house. You know, if it was some kind of thing like that, we got rooming houses where I am locally. You can rent a room for like $200 a week. You don't need no ID card. You could do that straight cash. No paper trail. But you're saying this is an Airbnb. I hate to say this because there's a large possibility that this homeowner had no idea Antoine Massie was here, if this was in fact a real Airbnb. We need to go on Airbnb and see if we can find this residence. That's what we need to do first. Because I'm seeing some flags on the play here. I'm not an investigator. I'm a guy who spent a lot of my life in prison. But I got a real good bullshit meter. Is it just a coincidence that she's wearing a shirt that says justice? She's also going to make one further statement that just doesn't register right with me. All right, let's continue with this.
Owner here, Airbnb listed. We'll dig into a little bit more of those that information that we just got from a woman alleging to be the property owner. But as you can see, she just shuttered
That shit hit him
the
off guard. He
property,
was super
saying that it is
startled
listed
by
as an
her walking
Airbnb.
up
But
behind
again,
him.
speaking to a lot of neighbors here,
But
in that
I do
area,
respect the fact that he doubles down and really tries
surprised that
to
something
get
like
this
this has
interview
happened here
with
in the
her
neighborhood,
from
but,
over the
you know,
fence.
It's just something that,
And then there's some
that
other
they want more
reporters who are
details
just standing in
of,
the
and we
background.
will
They're
be
going to
getting
start
more
throwing
details,
microphones out there as
around
well.
5:30
Like, who's
in the
renting an
open. We'll be
Airbnb
updating
over
the
here?
public, but again, a woman just
I
came
mean,
on
granted,
by,
the fence is
shuttered
nice.
this property, saying that she's the owner of
Looks
the
like
property
it was
and that it's an
freshly
Airbnb,
painted. I saw the
and
paint
that
bucket
Antoine Massie,
right there by the trash can.
somehow between
All right, he's about to
the
get her
jailbreak
again.
around 6 weeks ago ended up in her back unit
I
here
respect
on
him
the
for
property
continuing
here
to try to
on
get the
Lawrence
interview.
and Storlett Street and Holly Grove. So we're waiting on more information. We're getting more information every so often, and I do
Buddy
believe
is
that
all over
Liz
the
and Lauren,
place
you
with
guys have a
this.
question as far as the situation.
Yes, Andres, it's Liz, and clearly a developing situation we just saw live there on TV with the property owner arriving there. So there, and there she is opening.
Ma'am, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Any sort of, you shut her in the door, ma'am.
Shut her in the door.
Any comment as far as how Antoine Massie might have gotten into your property? I see you behind the gate, ma'am. Just a few quick questions, if you can. You mind
I
if I
respect
open it real
this.
quick?
He's not being
That's
disrespectful.
totally fine. We don't have to show your face or anything, but can you kind of explain? You were telling us that Antoine Massie ran into your property.
What does that even
How
mean?
do you think that might have happened? When do you think that might have happened? Okay, well, can you explain how he might have gotten into your property? You don't know how he got into your property? Just finding out right now. They're a tenant. Okay. Okay.
She's a tenant that lives next door, so I don't know. The door's always open because it's like a family house, so I'm not really sure.
All right, stop it right there. Stop it right there. Homeowner says she was just finding out. She said the police didn't alert her. She found out from a neighbor. A neighbor called her and let her know what was going on because the neighbor saw it on the news. She shows up. She's mad that the police didn't call her and, try to get in contact with her. When it's a fugitive situation, I got to imagine every moment is critical. I've never been on that side of a fugitive apprehension. I've usually, sadly, always been the fugitive myself. So I definitely have experience being on that side of things. But she just made a crucial statement right there. She says, I don't know how Antoine Massie ran into my property through a tenant, she says. But she says, I don't know. The house is always open. It's a family house. Run that back one time, Steve. Let me make sure the audience caught that.
Just finding out right now. They're a tenant. Okay.
Through a
Okay.
tenant.
She's a tenant that lives next door, so I don't know. The door's always open because it's like a family house, so I'm not really sure. I'm really trying to find out myself what's going on.
Yes, ma'am, and I understand sensitive situation, but I guess your thoughts. This is an inmate, inmate that has been on the run for quite some time. If you can.
Look at
Yes,
them peeping
ma'am,
through
your
the fence.
thoughts on Antoine Massie being here on your property?
This is diabolical.
I don't know what's going on, sir. I don't know. I really don't.
Gotcha.
I
Were you
don't.
shocked? to
I'm
hear
very
this?
shocked. Yes, I don't want to be on the news. Like
Yes.
I don't know what's going on. Where's the police? I don't even know what's happening. I get a call and I'm just coming and everything's over. Like I really don't know. All I know is they found the guy here and that's it. I don't know what's going on.
Were the police here when you got here?
I just got here right now. I don't see no one here but you all.
So it was cleared
So I
out?
don't know. I mean, I can open the gate. I just don't want to be on camera. That's all.
For sure.
So police told you it was at this address.
Yes.
And do you know anything about the tenant?
There's
That was-
no tenant here. It's just a family house. Like I say, I don't
Okay.
know.
Oh my God, lady. You have the right to remain silent. Because anything you say or do is going to be used against you in the court of law. What do you mean there was no tenant? And for a second time, it's just a family home and the door is always open. Look, I hate to, one thing I'm definitely not trying to do is put any, blame or spin a narrative here. But this is a very plausible situation. I don't think that she knew, but maybe somebody she knows knew. If it was a family home and whatnot.
They do Airbnb, but I'll keep it open. You know, I just keep it open all
Okay,
the
so
time because
it
we have
was
a
it
gate.
a family that he was here with?
I don't know anything, man. I really don't. I don't know anything.
Boy, the news interrogating her
units
harder
is
than the
this?
police.
Two?
Two.
Two
Yeah.
units, and you own it?
Yes, I own it.
Well, I do appreciate your time, ma'am. Liz Lauren, that is the property owner that she is telling us didn't have much information as far as today's arrest, but hopefully we'll get a few more information from NOPD coming up at 5:30 during their press conference. But now sending it back to you guys in the studio.
She had said she didn't want to be on camera. They got the camera all in her face. You know the news ain't shit for that. So, yeah, like I said, I do feel like there's definitely going to be some additional, at least an additional arrest that comes from Antoine Massie just being taken into custody on Friday afternoon. I don't think it's going to be her. I don't think she knew anything about it. You know, she seems genuinely shocked that this situation took place at her residence. I don't know who seemed more scared in that situation, her or the news reporter. Buddy was stuttering all over the place. Dre Day says the shirt is kind of sketchy. Abso-frickin-lutely. You know, a picture's worth a 1,000 words, and one word is worth 1,000,000. I just made that up. That was kind of clever right there. But, yeah. So that was information that I didn't really pay attention to nor really know about during the live stream that we did Friday evening about this Airbnb. And this is big. How did he end up at this particular Airbnb? Now, obviously, we know that somebody rented this for him. And like I had mentioned earlier, there is the slight speculation that he broke into this place. How the hell is he breaking into this place with a freaking... They got a better perimeter fence around that thing than the Orleans Parish Justice Center. I mean, not literally, but that's a pretty decent security fence right there. All the windows are boarded up. This shit don't look nothing like it did on those Airbnb websites. How much is that renting for a night? I really do want to find this on Airbnb. Like, let's just prove first and foremost that that's a legit listing. They could be subleasing. But she says she's the owner. That doesn't really matter. I'm just making little silly comments in relation to that. But let's go back to how did he end up at that particular Airbnb? Where was he at before that? And if he was at this Airbnb, I mean, obviously he was, but let's just say he was there legitimately. Somebody was renting this for him. How long was he there? Because that's a pretty expensive endeavor. And how did he get there? You got to think about being a fugitive. How is a fugitive going to move? Especially in the same damn city where they're looking for you the most at. Man, you got to move at nighttime. But what type of nighttime? Maybe as soon as it gets dark out. That's your best opportunity to move. We got to move now. We can't wait too late. Can't be after 12, 1 o'clock, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Nah. Then we're going to be the only car on the road. And you know damn well we're going to get pulled over. Buddy got to wear a full face mask. Complete disguise. I wanted to do a video during this, and not just this particular escape, but this escape season, which we're going to talk about more during this segment here. But I wanted to talk about how you should, how I would, move as a wanted fugitive. Of course, it's going to sound great on paper. But you know, for a guy like this with face tattoos, you've got a chessboard tattooed on your face. You got to move at night when it's going to be harder to see you. Your face has to be completely covered up. Staying in the same city is diabolical. If this guy would have been smart, or maybe not even smart, but just had the means, because I truly believe it all boils down to not having the means to get away. But if he did have the means to get away, man, I don't care how thuggish and ruggish you are. You better carry your ass out to Montana or Maine or somewhere and put on a blonde wig and some foundation and carry on like white chicks. You got to change everything, especially when your face is so recognizable. Nobody's going to have to really do a double take with you. Your face has been plastered all over the news. So for Antoine Massie to go from point A, wherever that might have been, to point B, or maybe we should refer to it as point Z, where he was apprehended on Friday at, he was checking in after dark. You got to make sure nobody sees you. Obviously somebody did, because somebody would make that Crime Stoppers tip line phone call. But think about this as well. Damn, I just lost my whole train of thought. I was preaching right here. If you think about this guy for 6 weeks being completely in the city of New Orleans, man, with the police running down on every known associate of this guy, and in some cases multiple times, think about how many different locations this guy was at in those 6 weeks, and how close the authorities possibly were at one point or another to just missing this guy. The Instagram videos that he shared, I mean, this is crazy. When he came out with those videos, and you could see right there in the background the kitchen decor, and the authorities immediately knew where that was from the searches that they had carried out already, and they went right back to that location, finding the outfit there that he was wearing when filming those. When that first started to be news, I was thinking to myself, man, this guy's smart. He must have been, I think it was his sister's house, I think is where those videos were filmed at. He must have been there initially, filmed those videos, and now he's long gone. Because you're a brave individual breaking out of jail, staying in the same city 2 miles away from where you broke out of, and posting videos to the internet where the authorities are going to be able to say they know exactly where you are. To think that this guy was able to remain free with all of those obstacles stacked against him, I don't know necessarily that it's smarts for why he was able to remain free. I think that he just got lucky, because I'm sure there was at least one, maybe even more times when the authorities were definitely hot on his freaking trail. Shout out to you guys for the donos. Banger, appreciate you, man. What up, my G? Late night for you. You better bet it. Just to be honest, I had a video that I filmed about this, but by the time I got the damn thing edited, it was already like 6 or 7 o'clock, and I was just like, forget it. I'm just going to do this live. A lot of times the live streams come out better than the videos anyways. 215 Dynasty, appreciate you right there, man. Thank you guys for showing love on this thing. That really does mean a lot and helps out a lot too. Thank you guys. Relock said, look it up on the Airbnb. I don't know the exact address. I'm sure we could find it. Maybe we'll do so, but I've still got a bunch of talking points to get through on this. Let's talk about that Airbnb for just a little bit more here. And the fact of, we don't know how long he was there. How much was this thing renting for per night? Relock, maybe it is a very good idea that we look it up. We can find out that information. Maybe we can even see when it wasn't available if we can look back on the calendar. That might actually give us a good idea of how long he was there if we were able to see that information. But what do you think that he did to pass the time in there? I mean, an Airbnb, it's fully furnished. You've got TV. Did he have access to a phone? Clearly he did. Somebody had him a burner phone. I oftentimes think that he get the opportunity to see these videos that I've done about him. And I'm not the only one. There's been countless people who have been covering everything in relation to this guy. I wonder what that's got to make you feel like. It's got to make you feel popular. Maybe like a little bit of a viral sensation, obviously for all the wrong reasons. Did he have an Xbox, a PlayStation? Maybe he was on your duos on Call of Duty and you didn't even know it. That's a diabolical thought. This guy, hey, what did he do? Make every moment count. I shared about this in another live stream that you guys didn't get a chance to see probably. Maybe a lot of you did actually. Over on my other YouTube channel, Joe Does Stuff. But I talked about when I was a fugitive at one point in my life. And sadly, there were a couple of different times when I had warrants out for my arrest. And there was one particular time when fugitive agents came looking for me. And I literally drove right past them, leaving out of a trailer park neighborhood, going over some speed bumps, car going like this, car in front of me coming in, toward us like this. And we passed right by each other. It was summertime. Joe had a warrant out for his arrest. It was escape season. Also, a time of the year where I just weren't going to jail. I also, similar to Antoine Massie, had charges out because of a toxic relationship and a female. An ex-girlfriend of mine, a scorned ex-girlfriend of mine, put charges on me for making threatening phone calls and stalking. I'm not going to lie. I made those threatening phone calls when she told me, hey, Joe, I've got great news for you. You don't have to go see your probation officer anymore. I said, what do you mean? She said, I called them and I told them you were out here selling drugs. You're damn right I made a threatening phone call as soon as she told me that. But ironically, on that summer evening, sun setting, evening time, we've got that nice ambiance. Nice hue over top of those trailers. Leaving from this trailer park, ironically enough, who I was in the car with was her. Yeah. And all of a sudden, there's a car coming toward us. And as we passed this car, I saw these 4 white guys in the vehicle. The shit was like Sicario. Not sure if you guys have seen that movie. Amazing movie. When those special forces agents are trying to get out of Mexico, trying to get through the border, and they've got the cartel cars pulling up beside them, and they're like 6 o'clock, gun, left passenger side seat. Yo, that's what these dudes looked like as they were passing by me, like some straight up frickin' SEAL Team 6s. But because I was so young and dumb, I didn't really take it serious. I didn't know what it was. They didn't look like cops at first, even though they all had the thick mustaches like a frickin' Beastie Boys Sabotage music video. 15 minutes later, I get a phone call from the residence where I was staying at, a girlfriend of mine from high school, who was nice enough to let me rent a room from her, saying, Joe, you got to come back here. I said, what do you mean? She said, the U.S. Marshals are here and they're looking for you. Joe did not go back, but 2 days later, they did catch up with me. So I know exactly, what it's like to be a fugitive. I know exactly what it's like to have them hot on your trail. I just wonder, what did he do to pass the time? 6 weeks, this guy was lucky enough to remain a fugitive. Do you think at any time during that month and a half that he regretted his decision to break out? Man, he definitely had a lot of time to think about it. There had to be a time when he thought, damn, they arrested the girl that put those charges on me. Son of a bitch, I might have beaten that. And now I'm facing all of this. I've got a jail maintenance worker saying that I threatened to stab him. That's not going to fly in the courtroom. Buddy don't got nothing good to look forward to except a fresh 5-piece or better. His particular escape is going to carry 5 years, but it could carry additional time as well. Threatening a jail worker? What kind of a diabolical felony is that going to be? Shit, you might as well have taken him hostage, because that's how that charge is going to play out in the courtroom when he's sitting there pointing the finger at you saying, and he threatened to shank me. I saw that rusty shiv. He had it. You know they ain't going to believe you. Nothing you say is going to save you from that guilty verdict. I wonder if he regretted it. Should have just sat my ass in that terrible jail. Aaron said, play Grand Theft Auto. Yeah. But that was the point that I was really trying to make as I was freaking preaching right there. You know, when you are a fugitive, and I know from experience, every day that you're free is like the greatest thing. You know, you cherish the fresh air, and because you know they are going to catch you. You might try to hold on to some farcity of fantasy hope, like, I wonder if I could live the next 80 years as a fugitive. I only know of one particular case, maybe less than 5, of people who have actually gotten away. But you don't even know how far they've really gotten away. They could have been killed in the process. Which brings us to Derek Groves. You know, there's people speculating right now the reason why he hasn't been seen since the morning of the escape is because potentially he's no longer with us. And though I see that as a potential plausible situation, I just can't fathom, nor have I seen any information to prove so, that there's any truth to that. People had speculated Derek Groves may not be alive anymore. Somebody might have killed him. He did have 4 bodies, allegedly, 4 convictions, which it took multiple trials for him to be convicted of those, which I find very strange. I bet you if you dug into his case, there'd probably be some anomalies there. But people had speculated, Derek Groves, he might not be with us anymore. Maybe the ops got him. He's got to have some ops if he's got 4 bodies. Listen to me. Ain't nobody trying to hold court with you in the street when you got a $50,000 bounty on your head. I wonder if that is good, dead or alive. Maybe there might be some fine print. Hey, if you kill him, it's, he's no good to us dead. This isn't the Wild Wild West anymore. I don't even know. People are saying he got ate by a gator. Z-Watch says he's not dead, just smart about it. I believe that. I believe that. I believe he is smart. I believe that he is far away. And if it plays out that he ends up getting apprehended in New Orleans like 8 out of 10 of them did, or at least in the state of Louisiana, that's really going to put a dark cloud over this, kind of, I don't even know what you refer to this escape as. This one is just weird for whatever reason that so many people latched on and rooted for these guys. When in no other sense, I don't believe that people would root for these guys at all. Just given the serious nature of the offenses that they were, most all of them were locked up for. Antoine Massie definitely hit a nerve with people, especially when he did that video. Now we're seeing the human side of this guy. And whether you feel compelled by his pleas for help, even if you don't feel moved by that, which I didn't, I was moved by the fact of listening to this guy. You know, he's kind of delusional about his situation. Or potentially just a flat out liar. I don't know how you move beyond the fact that he kept saying, I was let out, I didn't escape. Like, clarify that for us. Hot Wang says, just captured. If my title is still talking about Antoine Massie just captured, I did change it to the latest information since Antoine Massie's arrest. So forgive me for that. If you got a notification, I changed it after the live. I thought I had it ready to go. But that's what we're talking about here is the latest information since Antoine Massie's arrest, and also Derek Groves, considering he is the last of the Mohicans. He's the last man standing, and he's like a ghost at this point. You know, how long will it be? There's people who have made it for years, decades even. Maybe he is one of the slim few who actually does get away. People are rooting for him too with 4 bodies. You know, his story is crazy. His grandmother was killed by a dirty cop who hired a hitman. People are saying that the family just now all of a sudden got paid out from that situation, which happened decades ago. I've seen nothing in relation to that. And if that is some kind of a way true, maybe he did have a means to an end to get on a fishing boat and carry his ass to Asia somewhere. I don't know about Asia, but he could get somewhere. I keep saying Canada. I think Canada would be a really easy place to blend in at. Jason said he may have overdosed being free. I don't know. I don't know if he had any type of an addiction problem. And, you know, maybe even if he didn't, maybe realizing that all he has to look forward to is a life sentence. I don't even think Buddy's going to get back on appeal at this point. You know, when you have very serious charges, and certainly Derek Grove had those, he was convicted after multiple trials of 2 murder charges, I think first-degree murder charges, and 2 lesser murder charges, something like manslaughter. 4 bodies. But even with that, you don't take a plea bargain. You never take a plea bargain. You take it all the way to trial. And even if you lose, the reason why you don't take the plea bargain is so you have an opportunity at appeal. Because in like 95% of the time, if you take a plea bargain, you're not eligible for an appeal. There's only a very select few ways that you can be granted an appeal after taking a plea bargain. And you have to be able to prove, like, undoubtedly, without a, you know, inadequate counsel is one of them. There's a handful of ways that you're able to appeal a case taking a plea. I'm certain that Derek Groves did not take a plea. He took him to trial. He lost. But given the fact that you escaped, you're never going to get an appeal. They're never going to grant you that, even if you got grounds for it. NorCal says, I'd rather do time than live in communist Cuba. You know, Cuba is it is a country that doesn't have extradition. Any country that doesn't mess with the U.S. is a country that doesn't have extradition. But most all countries do have extradition. You know, and then there's also this too. Given the severity of the charges, like let's say this, for example. Let's say you had a driving on a suspended charge. and you got locked up for that for whatever reason. Maybe you had like 5 of them. You were in a state that didn't have 3 strikes and you're out. Because I think in Texas, if you get three driving on suspended charges, well, they got to be felonies, I believe. But in states that have like 3 strikes and you're out, I still don't think that this would fall into that. But let's just say you had a handful of driving on suspended charges. You got locked up for it. You bonded out of jail. You didn't go to court. Now you've got a warrant out for your arrest. You carry your ass to Canada. They're not going to come get you. Even if you get locked up in Canada and they're like, yo, you got a warrant out of freaking, out of freaking South Carolina. There's a very slim possibility South Carolina's coming to get you, especially in another country. Now, what's going to end up happening is you're probably going to get kicked out of that country. You'll get, like, deported, I would imagine. They'll drop your ass off in Maine somewhere or any state that borders Canada. This isn't 100% the gospel, but I do believe in a lot of cases, situations like this would be how it would play out. And I'm going to use an example of a person that we had as like a very brief guest of After Prison Show. This was a person who had a warrant for, I think it was like a probation violation out of Florida. And they ended up getting locked up in New York just because they had that warrant. And New York held this person for 30 days, giving Florida the opportunity to come get them. And if after 30 days, Florida didn't come get them, they were released. And that is exactly what happened. Florida wasn't going to waste the overtime or whatever, the extra money to go get this person who just had a lowly old charge. Come back to Florida. We'll catch you when you come back. You're safe everywhere, it seems like, except for Florida. But when you've got these big type of charges, and Derek Groves probably has the most serious of any of the people who escaped, I don't think there's anywhere they wouldn't go to come get him. Shout out to you, Justin. Appreciate you stopping through here. Not sure what you're talking about right there. Appreciate everybody taking the time to rock with me on this Sunday evening, man. I hope you guys had a great weekend. I got a couple of more things that I want to share with you guys. I want to talk to you about how Friday actually played out before Antoine Massie was apprehended. This is very interesting information. It's being reported that the tip that came in that would ultimately lead to the apprehension of Antoine Massie came in sometime in the late morning hours on Friday, and it was 3 p.m. when authorities would actually run down on that Airbnb to apprehend Antoine Massie. This tip was provided to the sheriff's department. Now, I'm not necessarily sure if the sheriff's department is connected with Crime Stoppers. Maybe it is. Probably it is. But I'm also seeing reports that it was the sheriff, Susan Hudson herself, who provided the U.S. Marshals with the information of where allegedly Antoine Massie was at. Potentially in an effort to save face, considering she's been thrown under the bus throughout this entire process. They also say that when this tip came in, there were multiple tips coming in at that same time, and some of those tips were also in relation to Derek Groves. Maybe it's not that far of a stretch to think that he might still be in the city himself. When U.S. Marshals and other authorities, I think it was some state police and some local police who showed up at that Airbnb and surrounded the the residents. I'm seeing mixed reports in relation to that. And what's even more crazy is there is no video I'm seeing circulating of Antoine Massie being apprehended. Maybe those privacy fences really did the job, kept out all the prying eyes. That's kind of ironic, given all throughout this, saga, 6 weeks, people have been bait and switching every fugitive standoff, SWAT, barricade situation that there's video footage of, saying, damn, man, they got him. Antoine Massie just got apprehended. When that couldn't be anything further from the truth. Looks like the news was a little late getting to the scene. Nobody alerted and gave the heads up to the media. But when the police surrounded this Airbnb, obviously announcing themselves, Antoine Massie, this is the police. Gosh almighty, what do you think he was doing inside that place when he started hearing that coming from the outside? Was he on the Xbox? Did he see him roll up? He couldn't have. Because I'm going to tell you like this, if I see him rolling up, I'm running. Maybe he did, though. And maybe he decided against that, fearing that maybe they might kill him if he did. Maybe he helped to orchestrate this whole thing. Hey, look, just go ahead and turn me in. Get that 50 grand. Regardless, when the authorities surrounded the residence, they said, that Antoine Massie surrendered peacefully. Maybe he was tired of it. Maybe he was ready for this to be over. Which goes back to my thinking on, how were these 6 weeks that he was a fugitive? Was he able to live it up? Embrace freedom. Appreciate every fugitive day that he was free. There's a very good possibility that he wasn't able to do that at all. Can you imagine? You went through all of this trouble to break out of jail, and these last 6 weeks were hell for you. Hey, Rich, appreciate the kind words right there. Derek, shout out to you, man. You're down there in Louisiana yourself. Antoine Massie surrendered himself peacefully. Yeah, he was ready for this to be over with. Maybe he realized there was no getting away. Maybe somebody talked him into it. And maybe it was part of the plan. I mean, who could have ever imagined, he would have never known that there would end up being a $50,000 bounty on his head. But when you've exhausted all efforts and you just realize that it's just not working, it sucks. Maybe that was the last day of the rental at the Airbnb. He called somebody. Turn me in. Collect that reward money. That might actually be seen as, somewhat heroic. Or maybe fraud. I'm not necessarily sure. Lord says there's pictures. Yes, I've seen the pictures. One of which he looks defiant. The other, he looks defeated. Jay Extreme says this is a dead horse. I don't think that it is. I'm really interested in this topic, and it looks like a lot of other people are as well, too. So thank you for your opinion. Since this escape has taken place, I've seen mention of things that are being done currently at the Orleans Justice Center. Installing new razor wire is one of them. And they are, it seems, or at least they're saying that they are, fixing those broken locks. Now, I will give Sheriff Susan Hudson, the proper recognition, because she had been calling for more money to address these issues for a long time. Kind of seems like it took all of this to make those repairs happen. I'm sure this is the last thing they ever want to see happen again, and I don't necessarily think that you will ever see anything like this take place from that particular jail. Not anytime soon, that's for damn sure. But one final thing that I want to share with you guys is this. May 16th is when this escape took place. Since this escape has taken place, there have been dozens of other escapes, at least a dozen other escapes that have taken place throughout the country, even throughout the world. All right during this time, even a little bit before this time. You would have an escape here and an escape there, and then it really seems like it all came to a head that just exploded after May the 16th. As I shared everything in relation to the New Orleans escape, as well as anything in relation to all of these other escapes that certainly didn't hit as hard as this particular one did, I kept harping on the fact that during this particular time of the year, like right before summertime, every single year it seems, when the weather starts to change and it starts to get warmer outside, I don't know why, but you start having a lot more guys trying to risk it and break out of jail, which led me to deem this particular time of year as escape season. It is ironic to share with you that just as quickly as escape season came upon us, all of a sudden it seems like it's over. There was a time throughout this where every single day there was at least one new escape that I could share with you. And if it wasn't every day, it was every single week when there were multiple escapes all over the country, all over the world that were taking place. And now all of a sudden, I type in jail escape, there's nothing. Just trickling stories of the latest in relation to the New Orleans escape. Escape season seems to be over, folks. And why is that? It's hot as shit outside where I'm at. I'm sweating at 10 o'clock at night. Maybe it's too hot. Maybe there's only like a certain window, no pun intended, when guys are ready to say, you know what, I got to get up out of here. My girl's waiting on me. She might not wait on me too much longer. I got to get back out there. Just as quickly as escape season seems to come on the scene, all of a sudden it's over with, folks, and that's what it seems like right now. Crazy to think. Hey, Leroy, appreciate that right there, man. That's really appreciated, man. Thank you. Hope you found enjoyment in all that I've been sharing with you in this. Appreciate having you here. Polar Grizzly Bear, I appreciate you as well, too. When's the next episode with Dave? Man, I got it. I ain't even had a chance to edit episode 3 just yet. Jeremy, appreciate you, brother. Thank you very much for the support, man. It's diabolical to think that all of a sudden the escape saga nationwide, worldwide, seems to be over. There was one final escape that just took place a couple of days ago. I think it was in the UK. I tried to find information on that prior to doing this live stream. I can't even find it, but I know that there was like one final escape. And I'm not saying that you won't have more escapes take place this year, but it's always around this particular time, for whatever reason, that you just start to have a lot of escapes or a lot of efforts to get out take place. It's just crazy to me. Dan says maybe Jody is locked up there, so there's no need to escape. It's probably something like that. Folks, I wanted to bring you guys this very latest information in relation to all things known New Orleans jail escape, Antoine Massie, and Derek Groves. Obviously, little to nothing is known in relation to Derek Groves, and all we can do is guess and speculate as to how long it's going to really be before the authorities actually catch up with this guy, if they even do so. Going to leave you guys with this, folks. As I wrap this up, I want you to know that there's other things that I will be following extremely closely. This upcoming week, the jury is going to deliberate and come to a verdict in the Diddy trial. Though I haven't gotten the opportunity to cover that as much here on After Prison Show, given everything in relation to New Orleans and how closely I tried to monitor that, I'm definitely going to be covering the verdict in the Diddy trial. Because I'm going to tell you right now, the prosecution didn't prove much throughout this week's long trial, and even had to drop charges against Diddy prior to giving the case to the jury to deliberate. Folks, there is some margin of possibility that Diddy could either beat all of this or certainly not be looking at nearly as much time as was once thought. We're going to be talking about that on After Prison Show, and we're also going to be following the Carmelo Anthony situation out of Texas and all things. And I greatly appreciate you guys rocking with me. Thank you for taking the time to rock with this live stream. Leroy, again, appreciate the support right there. I enjoy your videos, Joe. You hold nothing back. I see you every day. I really appreciate that, man. I don't always get it right, but I definitely try to give it to you as real as possible without holding anything back, like you say. And, yeah, man, I can't thank you enough. I can't thank all of you enough for taking the time to rock with me on this. Hope that this was one that you guys enjoyed. If it was, please leave a like and a comment on this. It would mean a lot and help support this channel. Hey, turn on those bell notifications. Check out this content that I've been sharing with you guys. We're really making a great strive toward bouncing back here. Been around for a decade on YouTube. Free from prison for 10 years. And still trying to make the most of every day myself personally, and want to be able to inspire or at least provide content that you guys find interest in. Thank you so much for spending your evening with me here. I really appreciate that. And if you enjoyed this, like I said, please leave a like and a comment. And as always, until next time, enjoy life, the free world. Never take a moment for granted and make the most of every day. Peace.